I never thought a single text could make my heart skip and my mind race all at once. I was sitting by the wide bay window of my apartment in downtown Chicago, the sunlight catching on the gold trim of my desk lamp, the city humming softly below. My silk blouse felt impossibly smooth under my fingertips as I sipped my coffee, thinking today would be like any other, organized, predictable, quiet, until my phone buzzed. It was a message from Dad. Just 3 words. We need to talk. Instantly, the air in the room thickened. Memories I'd carefully tucked away rushed forward. The late-night arguments, the stifling expectations, the relentless insistence that I hand over my house to my golden sister, Megan, for her kids. I'd built my life to be separate from that world. Every careful step, every late-night strategy, every little victory hidden from them, a quiet rebellion in itself. I ran my fingers along the edge of the desk, feeling the smooth grain, trying to steady my pulse. I'd spent years perfecting my life, climbing quietly, proving to myself, not anyone else, that I could stand on my own. And yet, here was Dad, expecting me to crumble, to yield what I had fought tooth and nail to preserve. I glanced out at the skyline, the glass towers reflecting the sun like shards of gold. A small, ironic smile tugged at my lips. He had no idea what I had built, what I had become. And as much as I wanted to ignore the text, I knew this was the moment. The moment I had to confront the past and, maybe, finally, show him that I was no longer the little girl who obeyed without question. I remember the summer I first realized how much control Dad wanted over my life. I was 23, fresh out of college, full of dreams and barely enough courage to voice them. Megan had just had her second child, and Dad had somehow decided it was my responsibility to help her by giving up my house. "I just want what's best for the kids," he said, leaning back in his chair, eyes stern but tinged with that familiar self-righteous glow. "You've done so well, and you can afford to be generous. It's only fair." I swallowed hard, the lump in my throat growing heavier with every word. The room felt smaller, the air thick. My hands shook, curling and uncurling on the armrest of my chair. My mind raced. This isn't fair. This is my home. My life. Why do I have to give it up for her? I can't, I finally whispered, barely audible, my voice trembling more than I'd like. "It's mine, Dad. I worked for it. I earned it. I can't just hand it over." His face hardened. "You don't understand family, Emily. Sometimes you have to sacrifice for the people you love." I wanted to scream, to make him see that love doesn't mean surrendering yourself, doesn't mean letting others dictate your life. But I didn't have the words then. All I had was a small, worn notebook that my grandmother had given me the day I moved into my first apartment. "Keep track of your dreams, Emily. One day, you'll see how far you've come." I clutched it tightly, letting the familiar leather warmth anchor me. That night, after Dad left, I made a decision. I would not let anyone take my future from me, not Megan, not Dad, not even my own doubts. I would fight for it quietly, patiently, and strategically. I moved out of my parents' house that week. The air smelled like rain on asphalt as I carried my small suitcase through the streets, the city lights shimmering like a promise. For the first time, I felt the weight of responsibility, not imposed by others, but chosen by me. That choice, small yet resolute, became the seed of everything I would build. I didn't yet know how hard it would be or how long it would take, but I knew this. I would never give up my house, my independence, or my life for anyone else's convenience again. That night, under the quiet hum of the city, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt before: freedom. Starting over wasn't easy. I rented a tiny studio apartment, barely big enough for my bed and the worn couch I'd salvaged from a friend. But in that small space, I felt the thrill of possibility. No one was telling me what to do. No one was expecting me to give up my dreams for anyone else's convenience. For the first time, the world felt like mine. I threw myself into work. I had a degree in marketing, but my real skill was persuasion, the ability to see potential where others saw nothing. Late nights became normal, the hum of my laptop filling the quiet apartment as I drafted proposals, polished presentations, and pitched to clients who had never even heard of me. Some nights, exhaustion made me doubt myself. Am I really capable? I would whisper into the darkness, hugging my grandmother's notebook for courage. One day, you'll see how far you've come, I repeated, letting her words anchor me. It was during one of those nights that I met Claire Thompson, a seasoned executive in a small but rising advertising firm. I had cold called her out of desperation, expecting a polite brush-off. Instead, she listened, really listened, and then said, "Emily, you have something rare. Don't waste it worrying about what anyone else thinks." Claire became my mentor, guiding me through the labyrinth of corporate politics, teaching me how to negotiate, how to sell myself without compromising my values. I stumbled, of course. Clients fell through, campaigns flopped, and self-doubt lurked in the corners like a shadow. But each failure was a lesson, each small victory a brick in the foundation of my independence. My first big client came after 6 grueling months. I remember the day vividly. The call ended, and I sank into my chair, hands trembling, heart racing, a victorious laugh escaping me before I could catch it. Then came my first profitable campaign, then my first small team, and finally, my first personal milestone of financial autonomy, a down payment on a small loft in the city, my sanctuary. Through it all, I kept my life deliberately quiet from my family. A few modest updates on social media, vague mentions in conversation, but nothing that revealed the scale of what I was building. They expected me to be struggling, to bend, to ask for help. And every day, I relished the secret knowledge that I didn't need them. Not their approval, not their guidance, not their demands. There were moments of loneliness, of course. Seeing friends buy homes with family support, feeling Megan post pictures of her kids in their new playground, it stung. But I reminded myself, this was my choice. Every long night, every sacrifice, every ounce of effort was mine, and no one could take it away. Not Dad. Not Megan. Not anyone. By the time I was 30, I had built a small but respected marketing agency, complete with a loyal team and clients who trusted me implicitly. I had a house I loved, a life I controlled, and a quiet pride that no one could diminish. I had grown stronger, sharper, and more self-assured than I ever imagined possible, all because I had refused to surrender to someone else's expectations. The knock on my door came precisely at 10 a.m., just as I was reviewing quarterly reports in my sunlit office. I wasn't expecting anyone, not my father, certainly not Megan. But the city has a way of making everything feel small, and suddenly, there they were. Dad, his posture rigid, and Megan, the ever-smiling golden child, holding her youngest by the hand. I felt a flicker of amusement. They had expected to find me in some modest apartment, struggling to keep the lights on, maybe still clinging to the hope that I would yield and give up the house. What they didn't know, couldn't know, was that the life they thought they controlled was mine entirely. "Emily." Dad's voice cracked slightly, betraying a tension he tried desperately to hide. I stood slowly, smoothing the silk of my blouse, letting my presence fill the room. My office was carefully curated. A large mahogany desk gleamed in the morning light, a modern abstract painting dominated one wall, and a bookshelf overflowed with books and awards. My laptop was open, showing a dashboard of ongoing projects, and a small vase of fresh lilies added a touch of softness to the space. Every detail whispered success, independence, and self-respect. "Hi," I said calmly, letting my eyes meet his, then flicked to Megan, then to the children peeking around her legs. "Welcome to my office." They stepped in cautiously, taking in the surroundings. Megan's smile faltered first. Dad's jaw tightened. Neither of them said a word, their silence loud and uncomfortable. I gestured to the corner where a framed newspaper clipping sat, an article featuring my agency's latest campaign, and my name in bold letters. "I know you probably expected me to struggle, or that I'd bend. But as you can see, I've been doing just fine." Megan blinked, and for the first time, she looked genuinely unsettled. "Emily, we thought. You thought I would just hand over my house? My life?" I asked softly, letting the incredulity roll off my tongue like water. I've spent years building this, fighting for every inch of what I have. And I won't surrender it for convenience, or guilt, or for anyone else's expectations. I walked them around, pointing out the awards, the letters from clients, the small but thriving team I had assembled. Each detail reinforced the truth. I was independent, accomplished, and entirely in control of my life. Dad's voice was barely above a whisper. "Emily, I didn't realize." "I'm not asking for your approval, Dad," I interrupted gently but firmly. "I'm just showing you the reality. This house, this business, my life, it belongs to me. And nothing, not even family pressure, will ever change that." Megan shifted uncomfortably, the kids tugging at her dress. We just wanted to make things easier." "I know," I said, softening slightly, "but easier isn't always better. Sacrificing someone else's life for comfort isn't generosity. It's entitlement." Their stunned expressions were satisfying, yes, but also necessary. They needed to see, fully, what refusal and perseverance could achieve. And in that moment, I realized that the quiet victories of my life, hidden as they were, had prepared me for this confrontation, the moment I could finally stand fully, unapologetically, as myself. For the first time in my life, I felt the full weight of the power I'd earned. Dad and Megan had come expecting compliance, and instead, they were faced with a woman who had spent years quietly building her own world, and now she was in control. I let the silence stretch a moment, letting them absorb it fully. "Here's the truth," I said, my voice steady but warm. "I am willing to support you, but only if things change. Not because I have to, but because I choose to." Dad shifted in his seat, unease etched into every line of his face. "Change?" "Yes," I said, pacing slowly in front of the desk. "First, honesty. No more half-truths, no more expectations placed on me that aren't fair. I will not be manipulated by guilt or obligation. That's non-negotiable." Megan's eyes widened. "But the kids will be fine," I said gently, letting the firmness undercut the softness. "They deserve a mother who doesn't lean on others' sacrifices for her own comfort. You need to find your strength too, Megan. Stop expecting the world to bend for you and step into the responsibility of your own life." I paused, letting the words sink in. Dad's prideful shoulders sagged slightly. I could see the guilt and surprise ripple across his face. "Second," I continued, "every effort you make to grow, I will support. But it has to be genuine. No shortcuts. No manipulation. I will help, yes, but under conditions that encourage responsibility and self-respect, not entitlement." Megan looked down at her shoes, her fingers fidgeting. I understand," she whispered. "And third," I said, softening, "this house, my home, is non-negotiable. It is not yours to take or to borrow. My achievements, my independence are mine. If you want my guidance or help, it will be on my terms, fair but firm. Otherwise, you are on your own." Dad opened his mouth, probably to argue, but the weight of my calm authority stopped him. He had spent years trying to mold me into compliance, and now he was confronted with someone who could no longer be bent or broken. "This isn't punishment," I said. "It's opportunity, the chance to change how we interact, to break old patterns. I care about you both, but care cannot come at the expense of my life or my values." I watched them, carefully reading their reactions. Megan's posture softened, Dad's jaw unclenched slightly, and for the first time, I felt the shift. The power dynamic had been reversed. I had chosen this moment. I had chosen this control. And in this room, with my life fully realized around me, I finally understood what true strength meant: setting boundaries, standing firm, and creating conditions that honored both others and myself. For the first time, I felt a quiet satisfaction. Not revenge, not gloating, just a sense of completeness, the knowledge that my years of struggle had led to a place where I could show compassion without compromise, authority without cruelty, and love without surrender. Months passed after that confrontation, and I watched subtle changes unfold in both Dad and Megan. Dad began volunteering, taking genuine interest in projects outside his comfort zone, learning to listen without judgment. Megan, surprisingly, started pursuing small goals of her own, enrolling in a certification course, creating routines for her children without relying on others to fill gaps. I saw them stumble, falter, even resist at times, but each step forward was real, earned. I, too, reflected constantly on my journey. The nights I had cried over spreadsheets, the mornings I had willed myself out of bed for yet another client meeting, the tiny victories that no one witnessed, they all led me here. I had become someone I admired, someone I could rely on completely. The house I had fought to keep, the life I had quietly built, the independence I had carved out with trembling hands and unshakable determination. It wasn't just mine. It was proof that resilience matters. One evening, I held my grandmother's worn notebook again, brushing my fingers over its leather cover. The pages were full of scribbles, reminders, and old dreams I had nearly forgotten. "Keep track of your dreams, Emily," her words whispered across the years. I smiled, realizing that what she had given me wasn't just encouragement. It was permission to fight, to persist, and to claim my life as my own. Sitting by my window, watching the city lights reflect like tiny, flickering stars, I thought about what it truly meant to forgive and to release expectations. I didn't need Dad's approval anymore. Megan didn't need my consent to grow. And I didn't need anyone to define my worth. I sipped my coffee slowly, savoring the aroma, noticing the chipped nail polish on my fingers, small, imperfect, human details that reminded me of my journey. My phone buzzed quietly, a message from a client confirming a major campaign launch. I smiled softly, letting the satisfaction wash over me. This was my life, my house, my choices, my independence. I had endured, I had fought, and I had triumphed, not by hurting anyone, but by refusing to compromise who I was. And as I looked out at the skyline, I whispered to myself, quietly, firmly, with every ounce of the woman I had become, I am enough. I am mine. And no one will ever take that from me.